Hello. I don't know if this is working or not, but here I am. I'm Sylvia. I am here to teach you how to do Italian rainbow cookies. I'm gonna give it a few minutes. It's only 6:29, so we'll see. We'll see how long it takes for people to come on. I live in New York. I'm in a small town upstate. It's not upstate. It's about an hour north of New York City, but lived here since I was 13. Started my baking business just a handful of years ago. Quite honestly, did not know that I would love it as much as I do. I did not start doing cookies till just recently, quite honestly. Started out doing cupcakes and cakes and things like that, drop cookies, and kind of just took off on its own. And I couldn't be happier. I do work hi Mimi, do work a full-time job. I work construction, work for a mechanical construction company. We do the maintenance and repairs on the power plants down in New York. So that keeps me busy 40 hours a week, if not more. I do work for my parents. It's a pretty big company. And, you know, that's me. I'm gonna get started. It's 6:30. I realize it's Friday night, so we all have a lot going on, whether we have orders due tomorrow first thing or simply because it's Friday night. So I am going to make for you tonight Italian rainbow cookies. They're also referred to as 7-layer cookies. I don't make them 7-layer because I don't put chocolate on top and bottom. Rainbow cookie consists of an almond paste based cookie with layers of jam in between them and topped with chocolate. They originated here in the United States from what I remember, or from what I've learned. I only started making them a couple of years ago at the request of my husband, who's Italian. I have not an Italian drop of blood in me, but I took on the challenge. I welcomed it, and it's probably one of my most requested cookies to date. I do make a lot of money on them in the holiday season. They do seem to be more of a seasonal cookie, especially around here. I don't know other parts of the country, but especially around here, they are seasonal, which is why I kind of keep them more towards Christmas. I will put them out sometimes around Easter because it's more of a family get-together type thing, but only really twice a year do I put them out like that. And I have also found that that keeps people wanting them. People want to jump on that train, and really that's what helps boost my sales. I make them in a 10 by 15 pan. Out of that pan, I get 3 pounds of cookies. Excuse me. I do sell them by the pound, no more, no less. I'm selling them this year for $25 a pound. If you go to any Italian bakery around here, they sell for that, if not more. It's just one of those things. They are a labor of love, which means, quite frankly, they are a pain in the ass. But I enjoy making them. People enjoy eating them, and that's it. So I believe Heather attached the recipe, at least in the one of the threads. I believe the recipe is there. If not, I will pin the recipe, or I will put the recipe in the comments or in the group later this evening. This here is my OG recipe. You can see that it's pretty worn. I do still refer to it. I converted everything on the recipe to metrics, to grams. That's how I bake. You don't have to. I did write the recipe when I converted the recipe for you guys. I did put cups and grams, so it's there if you want it. But I prefer to measure everything. That way I know it comes out the same every single time. I also, for this demonstration for you guys, I measured everything, so I have everything already set to go in the interest of time, because like I said in the beginning of this, it's Friday and we all have things to do. So, you know, if you were planning on baking along, my apologies. If you need me to slow down, I certainly will. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go through it so everybody gets a general idea of how these are made, and why they are such a labor of love. I've already got my oven preheated to 350. I've got 3 10 by 15 jelly roll pans. They're also called jelly roll pans, but they're 10 by 15 pans. They're pretty basic. You can get them at any Michael's or Home Goods. I just actually bought these Oneida ones as backup at Home Goods for like $3.99 a pan. They'll get me through this season and I'll be forever grateful. You want to just take a little bit of spray. I spray my pan. I put on a piece of parchment paper. You want to do that for every pan. You'll appreciate it. You don't need a lot of spray. It's actually better if you don't use a lot of spray. You'll see why, which is, again, why these are a labor of love. You have your 3 pans prepped and ready to go, okay? I did kind of want to do that for you guys so you can see that it's not a whole lot of spray. As a matter of fact, it's just the tiniest spritz, because these things do not rise. When you put them in the pans and when you spread the dough or the batter, you'll have to tell me what you think it's referred to once you make them. Paste, once you put that in the pan, that's the size that they'll be once they're done baking. So, like I said, I've pre-measured everything. So, in this bowl, you will see I have a cup of sugar. Is there a way for me to flip this screen? There is. So here's my cup of sugar, less 2 tablespoons. So you pull 2 tablespoons out of that, put it off to the side. Here is 280 grams of flour with a half a teaspoon of salt, sifted and ready to go. 287 grams of butter. This is almond paste. This is the elusive almond paste. You can find this at any supermarket here in the United States. I can't speak for anywhere else, but you can find this right in the baking section. This is not the same as marzipan. I have not baked with marzipan, but it is absolutely not the same as marzipan. So we have our almond paste, our extra sugar, our butter, our flour and salt ready to go, our sugar. I do have off to the side my apricot preserves. This recipe is, here in the United States at least, it's pretty popular. People use raspberry preserves. When I started making these, I found a recipe that called for apricot, and I tried it, and it's been one of those things where people go, wow, I've never had them like this before. And that's kind of what keeps them coming, I feel like. My husband's family had never had them like that, and they loved them. It was kind of my in. So I'm going to get started. So we're going to take the sugar and almond paste. I'm going to put this in the bowl of your mixer. I can't speak to if you make this with a hand mixer. I never have. I never will. If by chance my KitchenAid were to die during Christmas and I could not get another one until after Christmas, I would not have rainbow cookies. 'Cause I'm not doing it. Once you put the almond paste in your bowl, I have found that it's easier to break it up a little bit. I cut it up into smaller chunks. Doesn't have to be small pieces. Small chunks is fine. I'll show you what I mean. So it's just, they look like big cubes of brown sugar is what it looks like to me. But chunk them up like that. You have them in your bowl with your sugar and put them in. When I'm not making these for you guys, I usually take this time while this is mixing together to prep my butter and my flour, because what we're doing is we're going to get this into like crumbly sand almost. You'll see once it comes together, I'll show you guys. But if this gets too loud, I guess somebody could let me know if you can't hear me, but I will continue to kind of try to talk through this. But I'll show you what it looks like as it's going. The mixer itself starts to break up the almond paste, and it pulls together, you know, with the sugar. And eventually, within the next couple of minutes, I'll have a nice, fine, sand-like consistency. It will go flying everywhere, as you probably just saw. In the meantime, also, I have 3 bowls ready to go. I have bowls set aside for my eggs because I have to separate them. I have an additional bowl set aside. As you know, these are tri-colored cookies, so you'll have red, white, and green. So you want the extra bowls set aside, ready to go. You know, if everything is ready to go, then these can be done relatively quickly. I use that word very loosely. Okay. So you'll see what I was talking about. It starts to get sandy, starts to get real fine, all kind of starts to mix together. So at this point, this is when we start adding our butter. And I cut the butter up. I cut it up into chunks. This is how you want to incorporate it into the batter. If you don't want to just throw it all in at one time, you'll have a giant mess. Take that from experience. I do know that from experience. So I chunk these in a little bit at a time. I'm assuming it's a little bit like Swiss meringue buttercream. How you incorporate butter there. It's pretty much the same. Just put them in a chunk at a time. Kind of looks separate at first. Be surprised how quick it all comes together, but it will. I don't know if you can tell, but it's starting to pull together. All right, That's exactly what we're looking for. It's more of a batter, in my opinion, than a dough. It's very paste-like, you know? This point, let's see if I can tip this down so you guys can see. I don't know if that works. Every so often, I do take it off the mixer. I scrape down my beater. I scrape down the bowl itself to make sure that everything is incorporated, that there's no separation. When you put these in the pans, you will have some butter streaks, but it's like right here is where I'm trying to incorporate most of those. So I just kind of go in and I smash it all together. Okay. Alrighty. I'm going to put it back on the mixer. And this is where we're going to start adding our eggs. So you need 4 eggs separated. In the interest of time, I already took care of it. So, my egg yolks, my egg whites. In the recipe, it says to incorporate the egg yolks one at a time. They mix relatively quickly, honestly. So I put it on slow speed. Okay. So you can see it's slightly thinner, not by much. It's a pale yellow color, which is right where we want to be. So I'm going to scrape down the bowl again. Make sure that everything is incorporated. Don't want any pockets of anything. Okay. So at this point, it's completely up to you what you want to, how you want to, the order in which you want to do this. So at some point, you are going to have to whip up your egg whites to stiff peaks. And also, you have to add your flour mixture to the paste. So whichever way you prefer to do that, it's completely up to you. I have found that, to get things moving in kind of an assembly line that works for me, at this point, I add the flour and salt. I sifted it prior to starting the video, so you sift it together and add it slowly. Add it slowly or you will wear it. And after that, I'll whip up the egg whites into stiff peaks and we'll incorporate those. So I'm gonna start doing this slowly. Let's see if I can tip this. this point, we're done with the mixer. This is where everything else comes in by hand. So, usually push my mixer off to the side. I try to get as much of the batter off of the beater that I can, because I don't want to waste any of this. It's like gold. Scrape down the sides again. Make sure that you don't have any big flour chunks, anything like that. Try to get everything you can off the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it is like it's like, I don't even know. It's like Play-Doh almost. It is thick. It is tough to stir. I've tried to use a wooden spoon. I've tried to use spatula. I've tried to use a bunch of different things. And the only thing that really works is a spatula. That's it. That's what I have found. Easiest way to go. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and mix my egg whites. So give me a few minutes. A hand mixer for that. You could use your regular mixer if you had an additional bowl. I do, but I didn't want to mess up a second bowl, quite frankly. They'll mix up just as quick with my hand mixer. So what you're doing with these, before I forget, you're gonna whip up your egg whites. And while you're whipping your egg whites, for anybody that's ever made meringue, you slowly stream in that additional 2 tablespoons of sugar that we reserved in the beginning from the 1 cup of sugar that this recipe calls for. So while we're whipping, you just kind of stream this in slowly, and it'll dissolve and it'll all absorb together. Sorry for the dead air, guys. They're coming. Just about there. Couple more seconds. We're going for stiff peaks. There we go. All right. So at this point, stiff peaks. Stiff as you can get them. And this is where I had said in the description, if you don't have a mixer, if you don't have a hand mixer, you could use a whisk. Again, that's not something I'll ever do, but you can. I will use my hand mixer forever. You take half of your egg whites and add them straight to your dough, straight to your batter, as I call it, right? So what we're sorry about that. We're gonna try to incorporate all of this without totally deflating your egg whites. And like I said, it's stiff, you know? So this is where, you know, the labor of love for these cookies comes in. So it's a lot of, you know, digging from the bottom, pulling up and pressing them through, you know, and that's the easiest way that I've learned how to do it. It kind of just incorporates it faster, a little bit easier. Honestly, probably the easiest way, but I have not tried it, would be on the mixer. I am afraid that that would deflate the egg whites though, and that's not something I'm interested in trying. These are expensive cookies to make. The almond paste itself can run anywhere from $5.99 to $7.99 for an 8-ounce package of it. You know, so they're pricey, which is why I can get so much money for them. Nobody wants to make these at home on their own, you know? So they kind of don't mind paying for them, especially when they're only available once a year. You know, if I'm generous, twice a year. If I feel like doing them at Easter, we'll do. So I have it mostly incorporated, as you see. And this is where the rest of the egg whites will be incorporated. Take this bowl and set it off to the side. Don't put it in the sink. You're gonna use that bowl as one of your separation bowls for your colors. And again, I'm just trying to incorporate this, you know, easiest way that you know how is what's gonna work for you. And if anybody has suggestions that you think might be easier, I'm open to them. But like I said, this is such a stiff batter that this is the easiest way I have found. And that's just to, you know, pull it from the bottom and press it straight through. Pull it from the bottom and press it straight through. And this is where you get your arm workout. You know, this is upper body, if anybody's looking for that. This is about where we're at, just about there. And you'll see from here too that it's not even, it doesn't even become a more runny batter. It's still pretty stiff. It's just a little bit, it's a little bit gummier, if anything. It's not even, it's not runny. It's not pliable. It's not even like a cookie dough, really. It's just, it's different. It's its own beast, if you will. So this is where we're at. This is it. Right here, this is it. You could take this if you wanted to. You could spread it into 3 pans and you could have all white cookies. You could take this if you wanted and do celebration cookies. You could do school colors, you know, at the end of a school year, you could do them for graduation. I have done that, celebration cookies. They don't always have to be red, white, and green. Those are traditional for the Italian flag, obviously. But you could do them however you want. You can use whatever colors you want. Have fun, you know, do your thing with them. At this point, this is where the most annoying part of this comes in. I'm gonna take a food scale. This is where, I mean, I use the food scale for everything, but take that one bowl that we had the egg whites in. You're gonna zero out your food scale, and each bowl is going to get 400 grams of this batter, okay? That's even. I've already pre-measured it. These are my pre-measurements for these pan sizes with this recipe. I've seen other recipes call for 9 by 13 pans. assuming it's not that far off than from these, but for my recipe and what I'm doing, 10 by 15 pans, 400 grams of batter in each bowl. So I have this bowl, I have this bowl, and I have this bowl. So don't dirty up a third bowl. It's right here. You could use the one that you had your egg whites in, and here's your third bowl, okay? So 400 grams. In this bowl. It doesn't look like a whole lot. It's not a whole lot. $400 in the second bowl. And then you will be left with 400 grams exactly in the large bowl, okay? So I'm just starting to see some questions, and I want to apologize to you guys. I am doing this off of my cell phone, and I can't wear my glasses at the same time. So I am seeing a question here. Do these freeze well? These freeze amazing. They'll keep in your refrigerator for a week, even 2. So my poor husband, when I make these for the masses, he gets what I call the scrap bag because I trim the edges off of them so I can make perfect rectangles. And he gets the scraps. He doesn't seem to mind, but that's what he gets. And those will be in the refrigerator sometimes for 2 weeks, and they're still very, very good. Couple weeks ago, I had somebody who needed them and forgot that her event was like 2 weeks later. I put them in a bag, put them in the freezer, and they're still good, you know? So she's got them. She's ready to take them to her event. They'll freeze for quite some time. I'd say probably 3 months. Don't go any longer than 3 months, but you're good to go. So, in my first silver bowl, I'm going to make my green batter. I use AmeriColor food gels, and you use as much as you want to. I'm kind of that way with things that I kind of go with color and vanilla until my heart is happy. But I will show you what my glob looks like. If you can't see it, that's what it looks like. And just like before, you know, don't have any fear that you're going to overmix this. Like other recipes, like other doughs, you know, they always talk about like, oh, you don't want to overmix it. I don't even think that these could be harmed by overmixing, even though there is flour in them. I think the almond paste overpowers that. I think the flour is simply there for structure. But just like before when I was mixing in the egg whites, I scoop from the bottom and pull it through. And you are then left, if it's a little streaky, it's okay. Somehow it all comes together in the oven. This is what you're left with. This is the beautiful green of the Italian rainbow cookie. Put it aside. Pull your next bowl, and you're gonna do the same thing with your red. Use as much or as little as you want. It's up to you. This is where you kind of roll. If you know, everybody will always say start small. You can always add more. You can't take away more. You know, it's one of those things like in construction we talk about, you know, measure twice, cut once. Easiest way to do things so there are no mistakes. And there's your red. You can go darker if you want. This is how I prefer. Again, a couple of streaks aren't going to kill you. There's your flag. There's your flag. I think I posted that picture the other day. I posted that picture on my business page and on my personal page, and it's already taking off, you know. So it's like I posted that picture with "So It Begins," and it captured attention and interest, and I'm off to the races. So the color green, Linda, this is leaf green. I've probably had this green since I started making cookies. I bought this bottle when I had no idea what I was doing. So when it arrived at my house, I was like, oh my God, why is that such a big bottle? My bottles are not normally this big, but it's the perfect green for Christmas, as well as these cookies. So that is leaf green. All right, this is the part that often makes me want to cry with these cookies. Spreading them in a pan it's awful. I'm just going to be honest. If somebody has a easier, softer way to do this, I am open to suggestions. I have tried many different things, but because you have to do these on parchment paper that is also sprayed, and the batter is so thick, it's just not an easy process. It's not an easy process. And I think that this is where people get frustrated and they're just done. That's what I've heard, at least. So when I do make these and people are so appreciative, this is where they tell me that they get stuck, or their mothers got stuck. I do have a girlfriend who said that my cookies reminded her a lot of her mom's, and she appreciated that. And she was like, and you know, it stinks because her mother's no longer here. And she always said that these were very much a labor of love, and this is the part she disliked the most. So I'm going to point the camera down at the pan so you can get an idea of what I'm doing. And I'll bounce back and forth. Tool for this, before I go any further, hold on. I do use an offset spatula, but I also use my trusty little itty bitty little spatulas, my little silicone spatulas. I've found that the silicone spatula is the best go-to. I actually just discovered that this year when I made them earlier this year. I was always trying to spread them out with my offset spatula and was having just a heck of a time. But I'm going to spread the green on the sheet. I've figured out that if I put it in several different spots on the tray, makes it just a little easier. Not a whole lot, if I'm honest, but okay, so you can't see. So what I have found is if I hold down the corners, the top corners, I can spread away from my hand, right? So I can start going this way, and I don't go all the way to the edges yet. And you'll see, like, so as I lift, the paper comes up, which is what makes this so difficult. I'll turn my pans. I'll do the same on this side. You got to go thin because this batter, it's 400 grams, will all fit in this pan. turn it again. I leave a spot for my fingers. Today was one of those days where I am permanently marked. I had to clean my Eddie today. I was playing with this ink today, or this dye today. My hands are all sorts of fun colors. So keep turning it. You want to pull it away from the direction that your hand is holding it. You can do that. You can spread the dough, spread the batter, however you want to call it, to each corners. This is where you want to try to get, now you want to try to get into the corners. All along the edges. Somebody had said in one of their comments on the Facebook post that I had made for these that they had a hard time getting it into the corners. And I can imagine that this is why, because it's tough. It's not the easiest thing. When I first started doing them, this is why I almost threw in the towel. So, as you can see, it will fit. It is thin. It is interesting looking. This is where I will take the offset spatula. I'll clean off this one. And I'll try to smooth it out the best I can. Like I said, these will bake exactly as they lay in this pan. So they don't rise. If you have bubbles, you will bake bubbles. You will end up with bubbles. If you have creases or folds, you will end up with creases or folds, which is not necessarily a bad thing because they are sandwiched, but you know, you don't know that. It was a little jarring first time I saw it. So let me just clean off my hand. So this is what we're looking for. Pretty easy, very annoying. But there you go. This goes in the oven for 8 minutes. This is how fast they cook, which was also deceiving. I was like, oh, these things only cook for 8 minutes a piece. Easy peasy. They take forever. It's a 2-day process to make these cookies, but they only take 8 minutes to cook. They're very sneaky, these cookies. I put them in the oven, set a timer for 8 minutes. At 4 minutes, I spin the pan, okay? So I'm gonna go put these in the oven. While that one's in the oven, it'll take me about 8 minutes to spread the next batter into the next pan. I'll go ahead and do that. Let me see if I can try to figure this out where I can see if you guys have questions because I'm probably ignoring everyone. Oh, look, there are comments. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay. All right. If anybody has questions, now's the time. All right. So I'm going to start spreading the white. Again, for anybody that didn't see it before, let me just pop this around. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. Okay. So I tried to put this in a couple of different spots. Just makes it a little bit easier to spread. Give me a second. I'm just going to clean off my spatulas. I just gave them a quick rinse. Okay, so again, easiest way to do this is to start off with the regular spatula and to pull in the opposite direction for which you're holding your parchment paper. Add to a thin layer. I have seen these made, like if you see them in the supermarkets, they almost look cake-like. I don't know how those are made. They're always a little interesting to me. They also have a little bit more lift than mine. Almost like there's soda or powder in them. But they're a little bit more cakey than what mine are. That's not what we're making here. I think what I'm making are traditional Italian rainbow cookies. Or some people, like I said in the beginning, they call them 7-layer cookies. These are not 7-layer cookies because we're not putting chocolate on the bottoms, just the tops. Ugh. I hope you guys can see that. Did I go out of the screen? Okay. Just try to even it out. The white, you'll see, like it's a little bit easier to see with the white when you can see through to the paper, if you have an even layer. But excuse me 1 second. So I just turned my green ones in the oven. I rotated the pan 1 turn all the way around just to cook them evenly. I've had them burn, which is why I started doing that. And just, they burnt along the edges, which isn't that huge of a deal. You know, they were just a little darker than I wanted, because I trimmed them, so it wasn't a huge deal, but I figured out how to not make them do that. And that was to rotate the pan halfway through their baking time. So, all right, so there's our white batch, our white layer, if you will. We'll set that aside and we'll do the red layer. Do they stain your mouth when you eat them? No, they don't, which is pretty cool. I guess because you're baking with the dye, they just, it's like a cookie. It's just like a normal cookie. Have I made them with gluten-free flour before? I have not. I have yet to try that. I'm sure it could be done. I've just actually kind of gotten into the world of gluten-free, to be honest with you, but I don't see why they couldn't be done with gluten-free flour. I'd be willing to give it a shot and let you guys know. I do have it in my cabinet. I don't know that they would quite taste the same though, to be honest with you. Because I just started baking with gluten-free flour, I do taste a difference. It's not terrible, but it's definitely a difference that I can taste, you know, so I usually tell people when I bake something gluten-free for them, and it's usually only friends, that I'm not a good gauge because I quite honestly don't know what it's supposed to taste like. So far, I've gotten good reviews, so I'll take it. Okay. So we are on to the red. Do I ever bake more than 1 pan at a time? So I have, and that's where I ran into the burning. I needed to adjust the time that they were in the oven, and that's where everything just got, everything just got screwy, and I figured that these cookies were special and they required their own special instructions and their own special oven time, and therefore they get it. So if I had a bigger oven, it would be easier to bake them two trays at a time, or even 3 trays at a time. But no, currently I do not do that. So if you guys give me a second, the green ones are about to come out of the oven. I'll put the white ones in. The white ones are in the oven for 8 minutes. I'm going to show you what the green ones look like. So this is them. Like I said, they don't rise at all. It's thin, like almost like fouilletine. It's just super thin. Because these are going to be for me, I'll go ahead and touch them. But I don't know if you guys can see, there's not a lot of give to them, you know, like when you press into a cake, it kind of bounces back at you. There's not a lot to these, you know, they're just kind of over there like, leave me alone, let me do my thing, and you can mess with me later, because we're gonna mess with them later. So still spreading out my red dough. Thank you guys for backing me up and answering the questions for me. I appreciate it. So this is my first live, so you guys are being very kind. So like I said before, it's easiest if you can keep a corner on the parchment paper, spread in the opposite direction for what you're trying to go. Makes it just a little bit easier to spread. Ugh. Goodness. Another trick that I did try that it kind of worked, but it wasn't worth the hassle, is I kept a cup of ice water nearby. And I had my offset spatula in the ice water, and somehow it seemed to work a little bit, but it warmed up too fast. You know, I would have had to continue. Something about the ice water just helped smooth it out that much easier. I don't know. I had read that somewhere, so I tried it, but it wasn't worth the hassle, and it was just another thing to have to clean at the end of this, because there are lots of things to clean at the end of this. So why add one more when it's just as much of a pain? Okay. Oops, sorry. Red ones are spread. So about another minute on the clock before I have to rotate the white ones. Let me see if anybody's got questions. Is there a way to tell for sure that they're done, or 8 minutes works every time? So for this recipe, for me, for my oven, this works every time. The way to tell that these are done is they'll start to have like a matte finish to them. Actually, I'll take you over with me when I turn these so you can see. I'll turn them a little early. When I open the oven, I'll show you the white ones. They're very glossy because the butter and the almond paste is like melting. And then after the 8 minutes, they turn almost a matte. Like they look cooked. They look like a cooked cake. So Give me a second. Let me try to do this without burning myself. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but they look shiny. Like it looks shiny. I don't know if you can see that or if this is just poor quality. Maybe that's a little better. I give it a turn, throw it back in. So if after 8 minutes your cookie still has a shine like that on it, I would throw it in for another 30 seconds to a minute. Just keep an eye on it. But 8 minutes works for me with my oven. I know everybody's are different. They're set at 350, and that's that. Okay. So earlier this afternoon, because I'm going to be selling these, I took it upon myself to make a batch. So I have a batch that's ready to go to pour the chocolate on it, so that we don't have to do this in 2 parts. But I'm gonna give it a minute so that we can do that together once these red ones are at least in the oven. I want to also show you how I flip them onto a board. They take about 10-15 minutes per pan to cool down. It's really quick. That's why I can kind of bang these out in no time. Once I get into a roll of them, I can get into a roll of them. When I say I made 12 to 15 batches of these last year in a 2-week period. I also only offer them in a small period, a small window where I know that I have the time to do them. And I can just bang these out in a day, get them done. I don't want to mess around with rainbow cookies all through the holiday season. It's not something I want to mess with. There are other things I want to do, different things I want to try, and I don't want to be a slave to these things because they'll get tedious after a bit. But at my construction job, I had my guys cut me a board, an 11 by 17 board. It's just a plywood board. Plywood, that's it. I cover it with tin foil every time I make these cookies. A cutting board will work. You want something slightly bigger, obviously, than your cookie tray itself. So the cookie tray we're using is 10 by 15. So this 11 by 17 board works just fine. The ones that I made today, this afternoon for prep for this class, I put on a cake board. I realized that I misplaced my other cutting board. I don't know how someone does that, but it's gone. I had one that was big enough for these, and it's gone. So I just used a cake board. It's not that big of a deal. You just need something that can remain in the refrigerator overnight, and isn't going to kill you if it's missing for a day or two. So, okay. Tori, thank you very much. I appreciate you for that. Okay, we've got 10 seconds left on this one, and we'll throw the red ones in. Just give me 2 seconds, okay? I'll be right back. So before, someone was asking how to tell if they're done, and I don't know if you could tell from the quality of the video or not, but they were shiny, and this is the white right out of the oven. I don't know if you can tell. I see that there's a shadow there, but it's matte. It's got that look. You can see on the edge here, it's a little brown. They get a little brown on the edges. You don't want them too brown. The green didn't get very, very brown. That's when I knew I had put them in the oven too long. when I did mess them up. My red, actually, I could see the brown on them, and I was like, oh God, that was probably a minute too long in the oven. Thanks, Tori. So the red ones are baking. Let me see how we're doing on temperature. So the green ones are still a little too warm to flip out onto the sheet. I think what I'm gonna do, just stay with me. I'm going to show you kind of what the end product is while these are cooling down in the sake of time. You know, like I said earlier in this video, I mean, we're already going on, are we seriously going on an hour? So I was trying to make this shorter than an hour because it is Friday night and we all have stuff to do. So I'm gonna kind of speed ahead. What we do is once these layers are cooled, you flip green, you spread jam, you flip the white, you spread jam, you flip the red, and then you're done. I'm gonna pull out what I did this afternoon to show you guys. Actually, I'll take you with me so that you can see what my setup in my refrigerator looks like for these things. So this is it. This is, at the end of this, when you have everything assembled, okay, you have them in your refrigerator. I wrap them in cellophane. I place another sheet on top of them and I weigh them down with 2 cans, 4 cans, whatever you got, but you want to weigh them down. Okay? I'll pull them out of the fridge and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so if anybody's like ever made a cake, which I'm sure all of us have, and you flip a cake out of the pan, I don't know if you've ever had that moment where like you see that it's not level, like one side's just a little higher than the other. So having them wrapped with cellophane and weighted down for at least 4 hours, weighted down with these cans of pumpkin, makes everything nice and level. I really wish that I did not have this on a mirrored cake board so you could see it, but everything is level, okay? When I put these in the refrigerator earlier, the red kind of had a lift to it going on. And I knew that would be taken care of with the weight of the cans. So I wasn't worried about it. So at this stage, this is almost the final product. What we do from here is we melt the chocolate, we pour it on top. I just wanted to talk about the jam. For anybody that's either late or is wondering, I use apricot jam. I had said it in the beginning. Traditionally, anytime that I've had them, one second. Anytime I've had them before I started making them, they were made with raspberry jam. That's what anybody that I've ever talked to has known them as, having in the middle. My husband and his family only knew them to have raspberry. Now when we take them somewhere and they'll say, what's different about these? These are great. It's the apricot jam. So when I'm ready to spread the jam, I dump this entire jar. It is an 18-ounce jar, entire jar, into a microwave safe bowl. I microwave it for about 30 seconds just to get it to loosen up. It's gonna be chunky. I like the chunks. If you don't like the chunks, run it through a food processor. I don't seem to mind them. I feel like it gives each bite like something a little different. They're not huge chunks of apricot, but it's there, you know, it's there. I would imagine that with the raspberry, you could go seedless or with seeds. I would prefer seedless personally, but I don't know that that's traditional either. So at this point, we're gonna melt chocolate. I'm gonna do it right in the microwave. Calls for a pound of chocolate, you guys. I use chocolate chips, cheaper and easier. microwave safe bowl. On my food scale, I'll just measure out a pound. Okay. Into this, I add a teaspoon of shortening. I just blop it on top, be honest with you, and then it just all incorporates together. I do microwave these in 30-second bursts. I'm going to do that. So don't mind me, just bear with me. I could do this over a bain-marie if you wanted to. I don't feel like doing that. I always seem to steam burn my arm when I do that. So I'm just gonna throw these in the microwave. I eyeball tablespoon of shortening. It'll all get incorporated in the end. Are there any questions? Okay. I just heard my timer warning. And I'll show you the 3 layers set out in pans. Okay. So this is them as they lay here cooling to the red. And you'll see, like, you see those, like the red has noticeable little white spots. It's just the almond paste. It's not that serious. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to ruin anything. It's not that big of a deal. I am stirring up my chocolate a little bit. And they tell you do it in 30-second bursts and then give it a stir. Okay. Wish there was a way for me to have had the chocolate melted for you guys before I did this, but it would be hard by now. So just bear with me. One of the questions that I got asked on the initial post also is how to cut these without cracking the chocolate. I have found the easiest way to do that is instead of letting the chocolate cool in the refrigerator, I let it cool to room temperature on the counter. Something about that, I don't know. I just, again, I started doing that last year because every time, without fail, I think maybe if I would temper the chocolate, I don't have time for that. Not when I'm making 15 batches of this, you know. So the hack that I found is to let them come to, you know, let the chocolate harden at room temperature and then use a very sharp serrated knife and cut very slow. That's the thing. You want to cut very slow. If you start hacking away at it, you're going to have chipped chocolate everywhere. All right, another go or two in the microwave and we should be good to go to spread this. So, and then we can call it a night. I appreciate you guys being here. I know, like I said, it is Friday. It's the only time I have to do something like this. Life is busy. Life is busy for all of us. So I appreciate you being here on a Friday night. I do. Give me 1 second. It's just about done. Okay, I think if I can incorporate this and stir it fast enough, it'll all melt. So let me show you. Okay. Quite honestly, from here, all you're doing is pouring it directly on top of your red layer. So you have this on the cake board. You guys can see that okay. And take it all the way to the edges. If it starts to go down one of the edges, it's fine because like I said before, I cut these to sharp edges. So if the scraps that my husband gets are the scraps that are covered in chocolate, he will love it. You guys, and that's an Italian rainbow cookie right there. If you wanted to, you could wait, I don't know, about 15 minutes or so, until the chocolate like just kind of hardens. It's just kind of there, and you could run a fork through it. So you could have like a design on them once they're cut. I've done that before. I didn't really like it. Looked a little sloppy to me, but people do it. It's fine. You know, it's kind of like the coloring. You just go until your heart's happy. So that is it. That is them. You can tell they are not thick cookies at all. I think what I will do for you guys for the sake of this video is I'm gonna wait. I'm not going to wait until this chocolate hardens. I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece so you guys can see what the inside of it looks like. If you give me a second, I'll go grab a knife. This is the serrated knife that I use. I know not everybody has it. It's a bread knife, but it kind of works because these things are wide, wide and tall. So, let's see. What I would do when I would cut these, I would trim the edges off just about maybe a ½ an inch from the edge all the way around. For the sake of this video, I'm just gonna cut right into it. So when I say just cut slow, this is how I would cut them once the chocolate had set. That's it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that is it. This is a chunk of deliciousness right here. And if nobody's ever had one, I do suggest that you give it a try. I've found that people either love them or they hate them. And I think that is has to do with the almond paste, quite frankly. So that's it. That's about the size I would do it. I would clean up the sides, you know, so it was a perfect little like sharp edges. And this is about the size I would cut them. And like I said, I get 3 pounds per tray. I would play around with it until you get, you know, until you get that for yourself. But that's it. Those are Italian rainbow cookies. If you wanted the traditional 7-layer cookies, what I have heard that people do is they wait for this top layer to dry, the chocolate. They flip the whole thing over and then they coat the other side with chocolate. And then you have 7 layers. I don't do that. Again, I don't have time for that. People appreciate them just like this. So this is what I'll keep producing. I will see if there are any other questions. If not, I'm gonna sign off. This has been an hour and 15 minutes. I wanted to make this in 45 minutes. So sorry. Have a great weekend, you guys. Thanks. Have a good one. Oh, feel free to message me, by the way, Sylvia Pisco. Feel free to message me. If you want the recipe and it's not on here and you can't get to it or whatever, I will send it to you. Any other questions, hit me up. I'm an open book. Talk to you later. Bye.